From the banks of the Colorado River in Lake Mead to the homes and businesses in Southern Nevada, welcome to Water Smarts, the podcast pumping from the heart of Las Vegas, where we engage with the experts who keep the water flowing throughout Southern Nevada. I'm Bronson Mack.
And I'm Zuelke. From how we treat it, deliver it, use it, protect it, and conserve it, the Water Smarts podcast is all about water in Southern Nevada. We hope to make you a little smarter about the one thing that keeps us all connected: water.
Crystal, how you doing today?
I'm great. We're heading into holiday season. It's my favorite time of year.
How is it not people's favorite time of year?
I don't know.
I do hear people kind of bah humbug, and I get it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's a little bit different, but man, do I love it. Especially Thanksgiving, going into Christmas. That's just, the weather changes. I love it. It is indeed my favorite time of year as well.
Yeah, I know it causes a little stress for people. It's stressful for me too. I have a kid's birthday right after Thanksgiving, so it's always that quick turnaround of like, okay, I got to focus on that. But it is. It's awesome. And I really love the weather right now. It's cooling down. We get to scale back on our watering now because it's winter watering restrictions. Great
point. I am glad you brought that up. Winter watering, right? 1 day a week. So you want to make sure that you've changed your sprinkler clock. Winter watering is from November 1st until February 28th or 29th if you're in a leap year. But yeah, beginning of November to the end of February, go to 1 day a week, especially for your grass. And then your drip irrigation, I actually run my drip irrigation in winter once every other week. And I have found that my trees and plants have done just fine. So that is a recommendation, but certainly you can run your drip 1 day a week as well. And, you brought up the holidays, and what comes along with the holidays, Crystal? Like, do you do a lot of cooking at home?
Oh, yeah. Making a lot of food, baking, all of it. Eating it.
We just said this is our favorite time of year. When we brought up cooking, you were like, oh, no.
Oh, well, because, I just want to eat. I just want to eat the food.
Don't want to make it, just want to eat it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that always ends up cleaning up a lot of times. One of the things that is important this time of year is proper disposal of grease. I do turkeys at Thanksgiving. I don't use all of those drippings for the gravy, so I have some left over. And you're not supposed to dump those down the drain. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the wastewater treatment process today. And it does tie in here with proper disposal of your grease during the holidays. So bear with me. I'm not too far off track, because today, joining us, we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when you use water in your home and after it goes down the drain, and the important role that Clark County Water Reclamation plays in treating that water, how it bolsters our water supply, and is done in a very safe and sustainable manner. We have Bud Craner, the Strategic Services Manager for the Clark County Water Reclamation District. Hey, Bud, welcome to the Water Smarts Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to spend time with our friends on the other side of the water coin.
Yeah, good point, Bud. We are almost like two sides of the same coin in a lot of respects, on the wastewater side and then on the drinking water side. And that's why we're really happy to have you here today, because the work that you and the team at the Clark County Water Reclamation District do really does play a critical role in our water supply and within our water cycle. While there are other communities that do water recycling, of course, Southern Nevada is really the only one that is doing it to the level that we do, capturing and treating and reusing just about 100% of our indoor water. So can you just talk to us a little bit about what the Water Reclamation District does to make sure that that wastewater that is coming from our homes into your facilities and your processes gets treated to the level that it does?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a fascinating process, Bronson. And like you said, we're all participating in that water care cycle, right? And whether it's clean water, drinking water, it's reclaiming wastewater, we're all part of that same team. And we're really proud of the processes we have in place here. We're pretty advanced. And we get probably about 110 million gallons of water that flow through here a day. And that's wastewater. And that's all of unincorporated Clark County. That's all the people who visit Las Vegas Strip. So everything that goes down a sink or a drain or a toilet, that makes its way here. And it's a pretty fascinating process because we treat and then we discharge to the Colorado River system, right? We go back into the Las Vegas wash. And so because of that, we have to treat that water to a really high standard. And what we do to treat that water is pretty amazing because we rely generally on two important things: gravity and biology. A lot of places use a lot of chemicals, but since we discharge to a federal waterway, we have to be really careful about what we put into that water to treat it, because anything we put in, we have to take out before we discharge. The system here is amazing because everything flows. You know that old saying, poop flows downhill? Well, it literally does here. You know, when it leaves your house, when it leaves a hotel, when it leaves your business, it flows through a series of about 2,400 miles of pipes. And it all relies on gravity. So we're not pumping that water. We sit at one of the lowest points in the valley, our Flamingo Water Reclamation Center. And so all of that water, that wastewater, flows downhill to our treatment center here on Flamingo. First, when it comes through, it goes through a series of what are called bar screens. That's where it filters out all of the big stuff that gets in the wastewater. And there's a lot of stuff that shouldn't really be in there. Flushable wipes is probably our biggest problem. You know, people flush those wipes. They really aren't flushable. They don't break down like toilet paper does. But then you see trash bags, and you see feminine hygiene products, and you see cans, and you see sticks and rocks, and all that stuff has to settle out and get pulled out there at the bar screens. And then it goes to what we call our primary clarifiers. And after all the big stuff is out, then the solids, the stuff we don't like to talk about, you know, the poop. That's where that stuff starts to settle. Those solids start to settle in the primary clarifiers. And then all of those solids are actually pulled out and sent to another facility here on our campus. And we squeeze every drop of water out of that we can. We're really efficient here. We want to get every drop of water that we can send back and reuse in the form of return flow credits. So all those solids we take, we squeeze those out, and we send about 500 tons of solids to the landfill every single day. That's a lot of poop. We take that out of the water, we clean it, we take the water out of it, we return it, we process that water. And then from the primary clarifiers, it goes to our aeration basins. And that's where the science really gets kind of fun. That's where we use biology. We use little bugs, amoebas, rotifers, tardigrades, all these little bugs, these little bacteria. We introduce those into the water system, and they eat all of the contaminants that we need to take out before we can discharge that back into the Las Vegas wash. And then we take all those little bugs out. The water goes to our secondary clarifiers, and those little bugs that have, eaten at the buffet, they settle out. We pull those out, and then we send them up to a building, and we squeeze all the water out of them too. And then from there, the water goes to a filtration system, a lot like your pool filter. If you have a sand pool filter, it's just on a very large scale, 110 million gallons we put through this sand filter. And then from there, it goes to our ultraviolet filtration system. And so we have 6 channels that all this water flows through, and there are ultraviolet light tubes in those channels. And the water flows over those tubes, and the ultraviolet radiation neutralizes everything that's left in there. So it's not going to reproduce, it's going to die, and that water is clean. And from there, we can discharge into the Las Vegas wash. Now, we have some other processes, too, that we have that we don't treat all the water to this level, but we do have a technology called ozonation and membrane filtration, and we can actually treat part of that water to drinking water standards. As water becomes a more scarce resource, that becomes a larger discussion, especially here in the West, direct potable reuse. So we do have the technology to do that, but it's a costly process, so we don't treat all the water to that level. But what we do treat and discharge, it's treated to a very, very high level. Then it goes out into the Las Vegas wash, and about 60% of all the water that gets discharged into the wash comes from the Clark County Water Reclamation District. And so when it comes out of here, it is clean. Boy, that water is, a lot different than how it arrived here.
Yeah, and you see that even at the Las Vegas wash, right, where this water gets discharged after the wastewater treatment process. I mean, you can actually go and see for yourself just how clean that water is. The level of treatment that you're doing there at Water Reclamation District really is, it's near drinking water standards. It's some of the highest wastewater treatment that you can do, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of facilities only treat to that secondary level. They're not required like we are to treat to the super high levels because of the discharge into the federal waterway here. So most places will just discharge after the secondary treatment process, and they'll discharge into groundwater recharge or into a lake or a stream. We have to go a few steps further just because of our federal permit. So, Yeah, by the time it gets out of here, Bronson and Crystal, that water is super clean. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Well, it's good for everybody to understand that process because, like much of everything else with the water in Southern Nevada, the infrastructure is below the ground. People don't really see that process, right? And then once you guys do all your treatment, it goes back out to Lake Mead. Then when we pull that water out, it goes through treatment again before it gets sent on to the homes throughout the valley and businesses. The city of Henderson, North Las Vegas, and City of Las Vegas also have wastewater treatment facilities, but the Clark County Water Reclamation District is the largest agency when it comes to wastewater treatment in Southern Nevada. And the Reclamation District covers the Las Vegas Strip and unincorporated Clark County, plus smaller communities like Laughlin, Blue Diamond, and Searchlight. So that's serving more than 1 million residents and 40 million annual visitors, which equals a lot of showers and a lot of toilet flushes. How does the Reclamation District ensure that the system can meet those kind of demands?
That's a really good point you bring up. We are the largest water reclamation facility in the state, and I believe we're the largest on the Colorado River system. And that takes a lot of infrastructure. I think I mentioned before, we have between 23 and 2,400 miles of pipes just in the Las Vegas Valley and unincorporated Clark County. But like you mentioned, we also serve Laughlin and Searchlight and Blue Diamond and Indian Springs and Moapa Valley. So there's a lot of other infrastructure outside of the valley that we take care of as well. But all of those pipes, all of those manhole covers, all those manholes, all that infrastructure, it's a lot of work, especially when you're looking at wastewater. The water that flows through those pipes is pretty hazardous. And the fumes and the chemicals that you think of what goes down your drain, right? It's not just when you go to the bathroom or wash your hands, it's when you're washing your clothes or your dishes. And you think about the detergents and chemicals from some businesses and industry and manufacturing and car washes and dry cleaners. And, all that stuff gets into our water system too. And so when that gets into those pipes, it's really hard on those pipes. And so they're constantly being broken down. And so we have people out 24/7 working on those pipes, rehabbing, and we're putting cameras down the pipes to see what they look like, to make sure there's no dips or sags, that they're not broken, that they're not corroded and eroded. So we're constantly maintaining all of that infrastructure. And then when it gets here, again, all of the pipes and pumps and different moving parts here have to be constantly maintained too. We try to maintain some redundancy in some of our systems because it's a gravity-fed system. We can't just turn it on and off. If we need to do maintenance or we need to replace a pipe or a pump or something breaks down. So we have to have something that we can divert that to so we can continue to operate while we do maintenance or while we do repairs. And so, like I said, 24/7, 365 days a year, we are operating. We have men and women here who are working to make sure we're cleaning our water, and we're able to maintain that huge volume from all the residents and all the visitors. Like I said, 40 million people. What would happen if the Strip couldn't wash their laundry and people couldn't drink water and flush their toilets? It would be a big problem. So, yeah, we have a lot of people who are really, really dedicated, really, really hardworking, and just work constantly, because it is constant maintenance on the system.
We can all appreciate having a well-maintained sanitary sewer system because I know I, for one, don't want leaking sewer pipes in my street, and I'm sure nobody else wants that, right? Because as you said, it's messy. So it's good to know that the Reclamation District continuously invests in system improvements and also proactively maintains the system. But residents can also help protect the wastewater system. And since we're approaching the holidays, it's a good time to remind people how they can avoid being a pain in the drain. What does that mean? What can residents do?
Oh, I love it. Pain in the drain. That is something that we focus on here is when you're at home and you're cooking and, you've cooked some bacon or you've got stuff you kind of want to pour down the drain. And we would encourage them not to do that. So we have this campaign called Pain in the Drain and Just Can It. We want people to be mindful of what they're putting down the drain. A lot of the clogs, especially in your home, nobody likes their pipes to get clogged. And about 80% of the clogs that happen are because of what we call fog, fat, oil, grease, and grit. So when you're getting ready to cook that turkey, don't pour that grease down the drain because that'll clog your pipes and it'll clog ours. There was a story in the news just the other day about a 100-ton, they called it a fatberg in Great Britain that they, had to pull out of their sewer system. It was disposable wipes and fat and grease and grit that had all accumulated and was clogging their sanitary sewer system. On a smaller basis, that's the same thing that happens in your house. When you pour that grease and grit down your drain, that clogs up your pipes. And so we don't want people to have to deal with that kind of stuff. It's smelly, it's gross, it's costly when your pipes get clogged. We don't want them to pour that down the drain. So Just take a can and line it with paper or tin foil, and instead of pouring that grease down your drain, put it in the can. So just can it. When that solidifies, just put it in the trash so it can be taken out to the landfill with the rest of your trash. Other things that really shouldn't be putting down your drain is eggshells or coffee grounds or anything that's gritty or solid. Even food waste, we don't like to go down the drain because that takes a toll on your drain too and tends to clog things up, mixes in there with the fat and the other grease and grit. And then the big thing that we really want people to be mindful of is wipes. No wipes in the pipes. And there's actually federal legislation going through Congress right now to prohibit manufacturers from labeling wipes as flushable anymore. You know, you go to the grocery store and you buy wipes, and so many of them are labeled flushable wipes. It's just not the case. They're not flushable. They don't degrade like toilet paper does. They're really the only things you should be putting down your toilet and your sinks are the 3 Ps: pee, poop, and toilet paper. Those 3 things we can handle. The toilet paper breaks down pretty easily and we can process that through our systems. Everything else is going to cause problems in your pipes and in ours. And nobody wants that because it's costly and takes a lot of money to fix. One other thing we want people to be mindful of is to not use their toilet as a trash can. Instead of just tossing junk in your toilet or down your drain, throw it in the garbage, especially when you're looking at even old medications. You know, you put that in the water system, that goes through, and we don't treat for a lot of that kind of stuff. So that actually makes its way back into Lake Mead in the Colorado, and that's harmful for the environment. So, we would encourage people not to put those kinds of things down their drains either.
No, those are all really good tips. And we don't think about, especially the food waste, right? We have a garbage disposal on our kitchen sink. Most of us just think, either you didn't finish your meal, or maybe you've got the tops of your strawberries as you were cutting them up, right? And just shoving all of that into the garbage disposal and turning that on. Well, all of those little bits and pieces of food have to travel through the pipes of your home and then ultimately the wastewater system pipes out in the street. And like you said, with the fat, with the grease, that creates a very sticky environment inside those pipes, and it can really begin to clog up, catch that food debris, and cause problems for you at home. So the trash, obviously, is the best option for food waste. And like you said, just keeping the 3 Ps going down the drain in your toilet. One other thing, I just want to shift gears just a little bit. Wastewater surveillance. This kind of emerged during the COVID pandemic, and SNWA and Clark County Water Reclamation District, as well as other partners in the community, got together and started sampling the wastewater system in order to gauge the level of infection that we were seeing within the community from the COVID virus. Can you just talk with our audience a little bit and share what Reclamation District does along with its partners in the area of wastewater surveillance? Because it's fascinating stuff.
It is fascinating. And again, it's science, and it's science that's really beneficial to the community. Back during COVID, this was kind of the genesis of this program, and we're continuing on with it because it is so valuable to the community. Partners with you guys and with the health district and University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and just our healthcare system. This is super valuable for them. When you use the bathroom, when you wash your hands, you're shedding cells, you're shedding DNA, and that stuff gets down into the wastewater system. And so we're able to sample throughout the community and here at the wastewater treatment plant. And we have scientists, and we partner with scientists who take those samples, and we've done thousands of samples, and we do samples all day, every day. And we do samples for different reasons too. We sample because we have to make sure that our biological processes are working correctly so that we're adequately treating the wastewater. But we're also using those samples now to look at the types of pathogens that are in our community. And so when you use the bathroom and you're shedding those cells, we're able to take a look at that, and you'll actually be shedding those cells, and we'll be able to see what's emerging in the community a good week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we actually start to see an outbreak in the community. So when we're sampling, we can get a good idea of what is emerging, whether it's COVID, whether it's measles, we test for a variety of different things: influenza, norovirus, rotavirus. There's a variety of different things that we test for. But then we get those samples back, and we're able to share that data with scientists and with healthcare professionals in the health district. And they're able to operationalize that data and use that for planning and get a really good look at, hey, what's coming up, what's happening, how do we need to be staffing, what kinds of vaccines do we need, what do we need to be looking at in the next few weeks as things are emerging in our community. And that's all from sampling our wastewater systems throughout the community and again here at the plant. So fascinating stuff and super beneficial for the community.
Yeah, I love it. You turn on the tap, you flush the toilet, you go about your day. What we don't ever really stop to think about is the level of science that goes into treating that wastewater, ensuring that wastewater is treated to such a high standard that it is here in Southern Nevada, that it can safely be released back to Lake Mead. This is how we extend our water supply. Every gallon that gets returned back to Lake Mead through the wastewater treatment process is a gallon that we can bring back through our drinking water treatment process. So that closed loop system is really unique to our community. But if it wasn't for the science, it wouldn't be possible. But those are the people that you have at your reclamation facility, right? You have scientists, you have operators, you have engineers. I mean, these are people with high degrees of skill and education in order to make sure that the product that is being produced from the reclamation facilities is just as excellent as it can possibly be. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely a fair assessment, Bronson. I mean, if you look at the water when it comes into this facility versus the water and how it looks when it goes out of this facility, it's like magic, but it's science. And the people that work here are tremendously talented, and they're tremendously dedicated to what we do. I mean, look, it's no secret. Wastewater's stinky, and it's nasty, and it's ugly, and people don't like to talk about it, and they don't like to look at it. They just want to flush the toilet and trust that it goes away and something's happening to make sure that they can stay healthy. And the people that work here are the people that deal with all of that. They're the people that in the back of people's mind, they hope they're there. And these people that work at the Clark County Water Reclamation District are tremendously talented. They're so skilled, whether it's, like you said, our operators or our engineers or our collections folks, the people that are maintaining the pipes and running the pumps. It takes some really talented people and really dedicated to deal with wastewater. It's stinky, it's gross, it's nasty, but we have people that work every day, all day to make sure that we treat that. Not only we treat the water, but we know it's kind of stinky here. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars to control the odors and have odor abatement. And we use science for that too, to make sure that it doesn't smell as bad, to be good neighbors to the community. But then to treat that water and take out the pathogens and take out the harmful bacteria and viruses that are there and return that so we can pull it out and drink it again and complete that water care cycle.
Yeah, it is amazing stuff. The science, the health aspects of this. Yeah. I mean, the contribution that wastewater treatment providers, Clark County Water Reclamation District, City of Henderson, City of North Las Vegas, City of Las Vegas, all of these entities do some level of wastewater treatment within their jurisdictions, and that has a huge benefit to the health of our community. I mean, just the fact that, like you said, you can flush the toilet and you don't have to think about it again because the experts are taking care of that. And not only that, they are going to maximize that water resource so that it's available to us, not just today, but into the future, and done in a very sustainable way. Bud, thank you so much for joining us here on the Water Smarts podcast, sharing your knowledge with our community and helping them be a little bit smarter about wastewater.
Well, Crystal, Bronson, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you guys today and your listeners. And just a pleasure to work with you guys as always and be a part of this clean water cycle with you. Thank you.
Excellent. Can't wait to have you back. Thanks, Bud. Mm-hmm. Well, Crystal, I mean, it's an interesting topic, but it's one that has a little bit of an ick factor to it, doesn't it?
I know. And you know what? Bud said it. This is just one of those things that where a lot of people, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to see it. They just want to know that it goes down the toilet, down the drain. Yep. It goes somewhere else. But I think it's important that everybody understands that process and how much care is taken to ensure that our water is clean, treated, safely put back in the lake and then comes back out where we treat it again before it goes to homes and businesses throughout the valley. I mean, we all use that water and we're good. We're good.
Yep. And I guess if you just think about it a little bit, right? The advancements that have been made from pre-water and wastewater treatment processes to today's water treatment and wastewater treatment processes, those are some of the most important advancements in human health. The reason that they were created is because there were sanitary issues back in the early 1900s. The days of throwing your waste from your bedpan out of your window, those days are long gone, thank goodness. But, it really is such an important element. And I guess one more other thing to point out is that the water that gets returned back to Lake Mead through these wastewater treatment processes and the water that gets treated on the drinking water side, the requirements to have those two products, the drinking water and the treated wastewater, meeting very, very strict standards. And those are standards that are established at the state and federal level, meeting EPA standards. So, I guess from one point, if you're like, the EPA, they're just so onerous and all of these requirements. Well, some of those requirements are protecting the drinking water. One thing to keep in mind of some of the benefits of regulation that are out there to protect you and protect me and protect your families. All of that stuff, super important.
Well, I was going to say, I know you played the Oregon Trail growing up. We're not dying of dysentery anymore.
That's right.
That's how important this is. And one other thing, I just wanted to kind of hop on to what you were saying. We have a new video that really takes a deep dive into our water recycling process here, which includes the wastewater treatment part of it and what goes into return flow credits through the Colorado River system for us, and then the water treatment on our side to provide clean drinking water to the rest of the valley. And everyone can find that on our YouTube channel. And then also, just if you are curious about what you should or what you shouldn't put down your sink ever, you could go to paininthedrain.com, and that's the Clark County Wastewater Reclamation District site, just explaining to you the kind of items like eggshells and coffee grinds and fog that Bud talked about. Never put down your drain.
All great reminders. Go check out the Southern Nevada Water Authority YouTube page. Learn more about that wastewater treatment process and the recycling of water. Visit paininthedrain.com for all of the information that you need to protect the pipes in your home and those pipes out in the street. Well, that's it for this episode here on the Water Smarts Podcast. We hope you subscribe and join us next time. And if you like the show, feel free to give us a rating. It really helps us reach more Southern Nevadans. And if you'd like more information on conservation, water quality, new technologies, everything that you need to know to stay water smart, you can find tips, videos, and other resources on our website, snwa.com. Thanks for listening, and we hope you join us here next time on Water Smarts.